Hello everyone, welcome to another Twinmotion tutorial. My name is Mitchell and today I'm going to be covering two things with you from the settings panel inside of Twinmotion. Specifically going to be covering location as well as weather and just some of the things that you can do in those two areas. If you're interested in purchasing the product as well, just a quick reminder that I do have a coupon code now, Sigma Twinmotion, so if you'd like to receive 5% off, link is in the description below and you can have a look at that. So let's get started. Okay, so here I am in my settings panel on the left hand side, and specifically I'm going to cover these two items over here, location as well as weather. So we'll start off with location. Now location, as the name suggests, is basically just pinpointing your project in terms of weather, accurate solar positions as well as shadows and things like that. So there's two approaches that we could take here. First of all, we could just use our map that we have access to over here and drag and drop this little icon to the position in the world where you are located and have Twinmotion basically figure out the sun paths and all the weather information that you require. So as I am in South Africa right now, our winter months are June, July and August, and if I just quickly let me make my time of day roughly 5 p.m. so we can see that that's right for the winter months here in South Africa specifically. July, June, and August are quite low. And if I keep on going up over here and I change my months, I can see the sun is obviously getting higher and higher because we're in summer and the additional seasons, excuse me, that you have as well. So that's option number one that you can take. You can set the time of day, get the sun to appear where you want. Alternatively, you can still place this marker where you are in the world, but you can just completely set it up to get the image that you're really after. And I mean, that's quite important. If you're trying to receive or achieve a particular look, it might be easier to just create your scene, set your camera position, and then start to play with your time of day and months as well as north offset accordingly. So for example, maybe I do want to have an afternoon shot, so I can come quite close to the evening time, set the month as required. December is kind of the height of summer here, so that's actually perfect. And maybe I wanted to have, for example, this area over here in the background, and I wasn't really able to see my sun. Well, that's exactly what the north offset is for. So the north offset basically changes the position of the sun along your horizontal plane. And it kind of just obviously rotates in a big dome around you. So you can set that quite easily just by changing this marker over here, which is really handy as well. And if you go into your background area, this allows you to actually change the image that you have over here. Your default skybox file that is being used over here at the moment, it's just a city, but I can also set it to none or any of these options that you see over here. So mountains, for example, and then I've also got a rotation icon that allows me to rotate that entire skybox file or that background image to basically achieve exactly the result that I'm after. So your location is quite important, and there are also kind of two ways that you could go about doing this. One is you could do what I've just showed you now. Alternatively, you could also leave your, let's call it your default world. You could leave that as is, and as you're creating images, and creating images is something that I'll get onto at a later stage, but I can capture an image, and instead of changing it in my world, I can actually change it here in my actual image file by going to more, and then I've got my exact same set of tools here basically. So I could go to location, change the time of day again, just as an example, and let's just say that that's what I wanted as is. So creating an image and changing the information in your image saves that as your camera position, and it kind of saves your environment as you've got it. So now when I quit my media mode, I'll go back to my normal world where everything is kind of default as it was. But if I ever go back to my image file, it has saved the positioning of everything. So I could also, instead of changing my world, I could just change my individual images if each image needs to receive a different look and feel, etc. So those are the two kind of broad options that you have to go about creating these images in these environments. Okay, then next we have weather. So weather, very, very straightforward. You've got your little slider over here under weather, and you've got an additional slider under season. So season is very straightforward to start off with. We'll start there. If I move, basically what I'm looking at here is my trees in the background. I'll notice them changing colors. So I got my autumn where everything kind of turns a little bit orange, got my winter where everything goes white, and then I got my spring and summer where things are in full green. In addition to that, then I've got my actual weather where I can add some clouds. As you can see, I can get it to a rainy environment, heavy rain environment, and I can kind of just go through this. There's also some snow effects, so I can just change my slide over here, and I can adjust the weather again to receive the result that I'm basically trying to get at. A very important thing before I jump into the effects over here, an important thing about this weather, it kind of goes hand in hand with each other, is your preferences. This is really important. So you might notice that if you have it set to rain, depending on your quality level, you might find it's actually raining indoors for you. So this is something that I just very quickly want to discuss. So I'm going to bring in a very quick little sample file over here. Okay, perfect, underneath me. And I basically want to go inside. So this is just a very simple house, nothing fancy. I'm going to go to my preferences, and I'm going to quickly drop my quality level down to a medium, for example. And immediately you can notice what's happening here with the ground cover, for example. If I go to my weather and I start playing around with it, I'll notice that it's actually raining inside my house. Okay, now that is, again, based on your quality settings. So if I go to these three little lines over here and I select preferences and I go over to quality, when you've got it set to low and to medium quality, those two basically don't have collision detection, so particle effects, they don't see a roof as a roof. They're just going to travel straight through, and they're going to enter the inside of your house, of your image, of your whatever it is that you have. If you have it set to high or ultra, those two items will have the collision detection, and it's not going to rain inside your house or inside your structure. So that's something that's quite important to just bear in mind as well, is that not only does your weather sort of play a role there, but so does your quality settings as well. Okay, so again, I've got it raining at the moment. I can quite clearly see that it is raining, but your quality settings do make a difference to what that rain actually looks like. So that's very important just to bear in mind. Okay, and then we've got our effects area over here. So if I select effects, again, quite straightforward information. Wind speed, this would be easier to see if I actually placed down a tree, which I will do quickly. Might even be better with a flag, but anyway, doesn't matter. So weather, effects, and if I adjust my wind speed over here, I can see my leaves are kind of moving quite a bit faster than what they were in the beginning. And if I set it to 0, I can basically switch that off. I can also control the direction that the wind is blowing from. And then I've got a smog setting over here as well. So if I increase the percentage of that, you can see it start to get quite misty in the background. And the more I set it, the closer that it basically gets to me, and the thicker and denser it becomes as well. And then I've got an overall particle effects on or off over here as well. So notice that my ground cover over here is very wet and reflective. I've got my raindrops coming down. Okay, if I switch that off, basically takes all of that away. But you'll notice, however, it does keep, for instance, my cloud cover. So you've got quite a few things that you can kind of play with over here, and the way that you combine them together is really how you get your very realistic images, and obviously the image that you're after. I can then also go ahead and switch on my ocean. So if I select ocean and I enable my ocean, okay, immediately I will get basically just an ocean covering my entire ground level over here, but I can control the height of that ocean. So I can go underwater. I can also just bring it down. Okay, this is really up to you. Well, you know what you would generally do here is if you had a flat piece of ground, you would start to sculpt your terrain a little bit in order to bring it up. Okay, so that is pretty much all of your settings that you have in these two areas. Your location is quite straightforward. You're basically just setting where you are in the world, or you're setting your environment to capture the correct sun orientation as well as time of day and month of year. And then you've got your weather, where you're able to control the seasons as well as whether it's raining, not raining, sunny, cloudy, etc. And then you've got some additional information over here, which just drills slightly more down into the details of that. And in addition to all of that, it's important not to forget that you do have your preferences, which works in conjunction with things like your rain and your particle effects in general. And the most important thing to remember there is just that if you are inside a structure, low and medium quality is not going to have that collision detection, so rain is going to come into your structure. If you've got it set to high and ultra, you're going to have that collision detection on, and it's going to look normal inside your house. So what I generally do is that I work with a quality level in these three. You know, if your PC might be struggling a bit because your file is really, really large, perfectly normal to work with it on a low to a medium quality setting. And as you need to get to your rendering stage, you can obviously switch it to whatever your PC is capable of. Ultra preferably, you can do your renderings and you can always switch it back to low. So there's no real purpose in working with it set to ultra all the time if your PC is struggling. If it can handle it, that's great. But if it's not, I would suggest just dropping this down a little bit, working like that until you need to create a render, and then upping the quality from that point on. Great, that is everything that I wanted to share with you today. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions or queries or comments, please leave them below. I will get to them as soon as possible. I'm more than happy to help anyone. And just a final reminder, if you want to purchase a product, I do have a coupon code. All the information is in the description below. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.